was born to be a cook. I cook 24 hours a day, and I love to cook. I was born to be a cook.
I'd like to welcome you tonight to a little cooking session by Chef Bradley. And what we're actually going to be cooking tonight is what we reference a lot of time is David's chicken. It's actually Bradley's chicken. David was a good friend of mine, and he was from El-Salvador, and so he actually showed me kind of some of the ingredients that goes into this meal. So we're going to put it together for you tonight, and hopefully you can cook it and enjoy. Well, first off, we'll bring this pan up to just a medium temperature and put some heat in the bottom of it so that it won't stick, and then we'll get going with our ingredients. Once the skillet is brought up to a medium temperature, we've already prepped our chicken, and this is just regular chicken thighs. We found that with this recipe, this works really good. It's bone-in chicken thighs, and we have washed them and cleaned them and prepped them ahead of time. So we'll start. What I normally do is I take and put the skin down in the skillet, and then we season the bottom side of the chicken with the skin down, and then we'll turn it over and season it again, and then we cook it like that. So this is going to have a seasoning is going to be similar to what you would find in a lot of authentic Mexican restaurants. So it's going to have a little bit of spice to it. It's going to have some jalapenos in it. It's going to have a little bit of cayenne pepper. So it's a little bit of a spicy dish. So when you cook it, you kind of just know that it's going to have a little bit of spice to it. So once you get the chicken in the pan, you can see it's already starting to sizzle and simmer, so that we know the stainless pan is good and warm. And we'll go to seasoning up the chicken. So we use accent for our dry seasoning, or MSG, whatever that you want to use, and you can kind of see I don't really measure this out. I just sprinkle it over the top, and then you can use a chicken seasoning of your choice. I really like to use a seasoning that I buy from a Mexican grocery store called El Polo, but I'm out of it tonight, so I'm actually using a Goya seasonal. It's just a good chicken flavored chicken seasoning. So go on that with the skin down. And then we're going to take some mustard, just regular mustard. You can use whatever brand or style that you want to use. And then we just coat the top of it with mustard like this. And this is really optional. You can use however much or however little you want to use of the mustard. And then this is really an important thing. We use Leaf Herrings, Worcestershire, and that's an important ingredient to use Leaf Herrings. Next ingredient I use is cayenne pepper. We'll take a little bit of cayenne pepper and sprinkle it. You can go either liberal with this or just apply a little bit depending on how spicy that you want the chicken to be. The next ingredient we're going to put on there is a little bit of black pepper. Grab my black pepper. This is just going to be something that creates just a little bit more heat in the chicken. Okay, so that completes the seasoning that goes on the chicken. And what we do at this point now, we go ahead and turn the chicken over, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So once you have the chicken turned over, you can just apply the seasoning the same way. I'm going to go ahead and add some oil. You can use whatever kind of oil you want to. This is just regular vegetable oil to the skillet. And we're going to start our rice over here. So we'll let that warm up a little bit, and we'll go ahead and season the chicken again. Do both sides exactly the same. Just use the same amount of seasonings on both sides of the chicken. And what you're going to want to do is make sure that you have some juice in the bottom of the skillet. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to put the lid on this, and we're going to let it simmer in just a minute. So the next thing we add to this before we put the lid on is jalapenos. And I like the I had a can around here somewhere to show you the brand that I choose. My choosing of jalapeno, that you can use whatever jalapeno you want. Why I use this one, it comes pretty liberally with some onions and some carrots, and then I just go ahead and pour the additional sauce in the skillet. La Costina is the brand of my preference when I'm using pickled jalapenos. And at this time, we'll go ahead and pour in our rice and get our rice started. So I just used a little bit of oil. I warmed up my oil, and then I just take and start stirring my rice into the oil and getting the rice good and hot, mixing the oil in with the rice. And what I look for is I just kind of leave it in the oil and let it start getting really hot. But when the rice starts to brown, then I add in the liquid, and we'll let it simmer for about 15 minutes. So now that the rice is heating and we've got this good to go, what I like to do is just take and we'll add a lid to this now, and we'll just turn it on a medium-low heat, and we'll just let it simmer. Okay, as you can see, the rice is starting to brown, and you don't really want it to burn, so have your liquids ready to pour in. What this is chicken broth and water, and we just go right in with it. 2 cups of rice to 4 cups of liquid. And I usually use about 2 cups of chicken broth and 2 cups of water. Once you have your water added, then you can go in with a couple of seasonings, which is going to help kind of season this rice up to where it tastes a lot like the chicken that you're cooking. I throw a little bit of chicken seasoning in it, and I put a tad of your choice of fajita seasoning. I've got some Goya white fajita seasoning. We'll add a pinch of that, just to give the rice a little bit of seasoning. And once that comes to a boil, we'll just kind of keep the rice stirred so that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan, and continue to stir it until it starts going. On this back burner back here, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn a little bit of heat on it. And we don't want a whole lot of heat on it because we're going to be slow warming some beans that's going to be served with this meal. So I'm just turning this pan on as low a setting as I can get and just warming up this pan a little bit first, and then we'll go in with the beans. I'm sure all of y'all that's cooked with stainless cookware and cast iron cookware, you're aware it's better to warm the skillet up before you add your ingredients. Keeps them from sticking. So at this time, it's a good time if you're going to do any kind of prep for either some guacamole, which we're going to do some guacamole, and that we can start that over here once you get that going. So our chicken is coming up to temperature, our rice is coming into a bowl, and then our pan is just about warm. And what I like to do is I get this going all at the same time. That way, when you get your meal completed, it pretty well is all ready to just set out and serve. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take these. What I've used is just ranch style beans. You can use your choice of pinto beans. But I really like just the plain ranch style beans, and then I season them up a little bit and put the seasonings in them that I like. So this is just ranch style beans. That's what I'm cooking here. What I'm going to do, I have a few extra pieces of chicken left over here that was too much to put in my skillet. So I'm just going to grab an electric skillet and get them started over here in another. Steam is coming out of this pan, so you know that it's got to a good constant temperature. We'll take and we'll turn our heat down to the lowest setting, and then we'll close that lid, and it just pressures up and allows the chicken to cook under pressure, and it just puts all the good seasoning into the chicken. So just stir your rice occasionally. Keep it from sticking to the bottom of the pan. And we're going to let it simmer for about 15 minutes, or once the water all cooks down and you can see mostly just rice, and I'll show you in a minute where we're at with that. Then we just throw a lid on it and set it over to the side. Since we have a setting, I like to cook it on about 275, and we'll get it going real quick here. Once again, our chicken seasoning, our accent, our cayenne. What I might actually do on this is cut back a little bit on the heat. That way, if there's somebody here that doesn't really like that much spice, we'll have an option that's not quite as spicy. that has cooked with avocados knows the best way to do this when you're doing avocados where you're going to chunk them up for avocado guacamole or just sliced avocado. Just slice them right open. This one here is really good and ripe, ready to go, so that's a good thing. Some of them sometimes are a little bit tough and not quite ready, but this one's really good and ready. So you just take it, and depending on what you're going to do with it, we're making guacamole, so we're just going to go both directions, and then we'll take a spoon and just dip it right out. Right out of there into your bowl, and then repeat just however many you want to do for the amount of guacamole you're going to make. Also, something that you nearly have to have with any meal that is like this is naturally some cilantro. So we have some cilantro there. I'll chop up some fresh cilantro and good to go. On these beans, as it is with any beans, be really cautious and stir it real often. I've got it on the lowest setting, but you know, beans are really easy to scorch, so just make sure what we're trying to do is just warm it. We don't want to cook it and for sure not scorch it, so keep it stirred. Okay, our rice, once it gets down to this point here, you can see where most of the water's gone, and what we do at this point is we just turn the heat off, and then we take a lid and we just cover the pan and then move it off the heat. And what that will do is it'll continue to cook in the pan, and we'll just fluff it up and add it into our skillet here in just a minute. I really don't like a lot of the stems in it, so what I do is I take most of the leafy part of it and I chop it up, and then I set this aside, and what I like to do is just kind of take the leaves off by taking them and just pulling them off like this right here. Once that's done, we're going to start our salsa. So what we do first, we're just going to add water to this. Once we get it half full, bring it back to the burner, put it on high heat. Here's what we want. So what we want to do is bring this water to a boil. I like to take some salt, put some salt in that water. That'll help get the water up to a boil quicker. Just help season up our salsa. Next thing we do here is we take just jalapenos. So remove the stem right into the water. You can use, it depends on how many jalapeno you use, is how much salsa you're actually wanting to make. I usually do a pretty good batch of salsa, so I'll probably do about 15 jalapenos, and you'll bring them to a boil and start boiling them. here, and this will be our salsa. Okay, when this starts boiling, this actually will help bring it up to temperature quicker. We'll just kind of cover it lightly like that. And at this point, we'll go ahead and take the heat off of the beans here, because they actually have started to boil there, and we don't want to scorch the beans. So we'll go ahead and kill the heat on that and check on our chicken. Usually I like to let it cook for about 20 minutes before I turn it over, and it makes sure that it gets really good and hot. You want to cook this chicken through and through, all the way, make sure it's cooked all the way down through the bone really well. It for about 20 more minutes. Once your jalapenos have boiled for a while, you'll start seeing they're softening up. Skins are getting really soft, changing colors. Some of them are even kind of splitting open a little bit. What we're going to do now is we're going to drop our tomatoes in. Be real careful because the water is really hot. You want about the same amount of tomatoes as you have jalapenos. So what you're going to do is just put those tomatoes in there. You can actually leave the lid off, because it doesn't take a long time, and your skins on your tomatoes are going to start getting really soft and busting open. And at that point, we'll be ready to turn the heat off. You can check on our jalapenos. Show you how we put together our salsa now. Once the tomatoes have come to a little bit of a boil, their skin starts turning loose. And I like to just take the skin off of the tomato, so you don't have the tomato skin in your salsa. And what I end up doing is, once you get the skin took off of the tomato, just take it right out of the water into the blender. And then the jalapenos, take them right out of the water, right into the blender also. Depends on how big your blender is. You're probably going to want to do this in a couple of different batches, if you have a really big blender. And you can do it all in one batch, but mine's not a really big blender, so usually it takes me a couple times. Go ahead and throw in a little bit of an onion in with the cilantro that we had cut up earlier. And we go in with the package of this seasoning here. And then we're going to add in some salt and a little bit of seasoned salt. your choice. And it all depends on how hot you want your salsa to be. We just use regular jalapenos, but you can actually throw in some hot serrano or even habanero, whatever you choose if you want it hotter. Once that's ready, we throw the lid on and we blend, and we do it again. That down, and then I add more in it. I won't add any more packages of these seasoned. I will go ahead and throw another quarter of an onion in it, and then I'll start putting more tomatoes and jalapenos in it until we get it full again, and then I'll go hit it right back with the blender again. In with more jalapenos, more tomatoes. Throw another handful of cilantro in there. And we'll hit it with the blender again. Go ahead and blend it up. At this point, we'll do a little bit of taste testing. You might come right over here and let me show you our chicken is actually ready. So we're going to end up turning the heat off. So what you're basically looking for is you're going to have some really dark skin. And just make sure that your chicken is cooked through and through all the way, and when it's cooked through and through, then you're ready to turn the heat down. We've got one more step here, and I'll show you in just a minute. We add in our rice and put the chicken on top of the rice, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Sample our salsa. We're going to need quite a bit more salt. I'll take my bigger salt shaker. Just be real careful because you can overdo it. We've only got 2 more tomatoes and a couple more jalapenos, so I'm going to go ahead and add those in. One more handful of cilantro. Hit it with a little bit more seasoning, and this will be good to go. It's good to go. We finish this chicken off and plate it. So basically you're going to have some skin that's kind of attached itself to the bottom of the skillet. And the best way to do this is just grab another dish real quick. Since we're not the one washing the dishes, you can just get as many out as you want to. Go ahead and just take your chicken out of the pan. It's the easiest way to do it. Remove it from the skillet, but leave all the juice in the bottom of the skillet, and I'll show you why. This is what makes this dish so amazing. Is the juice and the drippings on the bottom of the pan. It actually gets incorporated into the dish. Once you get that done, you're going to kind of remove all the stems of the jalapenos that we put in there. We'll remove it from the bottom of the pan. And then this is where our rice comes in at. The rice that we cooked earlier and cleaned off. It's ready to go into this pan. I like to take and just kind of scrape the bottom of the pan. Just make sure you get all the good loose seasonings off of the bottom of the pan. And then you take and you add your rice in. You'll notice I didn't do a lot of seasoning on the rice. I just left it kind of with salt and a little bit of our chicken seasoning, a touch of fajita seasoning. I don't over season the rice because this is what you're going to get with the seasoning in the rice. You take and you stir your rice into the skillet, and all of that sauce that's in the bottom of the skillet, you just incorporate it into the rice. And that's where the rice gets its seasoning, is the seasoning that's on the bottom of the pan. You go ahead and rake it into the rice with the moisture, which is actually chicken broth and Worcestershire sauce and mustard. And once you get your rice stirred up like that, and it's time to go back into the skillet with your chicken, and it's ready to serve. And we got a bunch of hungry people here that's ready to eat, so it couldn't have come at a better time. Well, we'd like to thank you for watching as we cooked Bradley's chicken El-Salvadorian style. We're going to give this a sample test here of how it turned out. Bryce here is going to sample it and give us his opinion.
All right. So we're going to start off with some rice and some skin. That's good. Good amount of spice to it. Try some chicken. It's very good. Please like and subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you don't miss out on any new episodes. Thank you.